What is up, guys? Welcome back to my channel. Today, we are going to be talking a little bit about a story I really haven't shared fully here on 3D Prints by Vic, and it's why I walked away from resin 3D printing. Now, I absolutely love resin 3D printing, and this is not a video talking about why resin 3D printing sucks or why you shouldn't pursue it, because I had a blast every second that I was printing with resin. But it just wasn't my future. And if it weren't for me giving up resin 3D printing, you probably wouldn't be watching this video right now. So if you're interested in resin 3D printing, interested in why I left it, or maybe you're just a little nosy about some behind the scenes with 3D Prints by Vic, this is the video for you. You see, when I started my business back during the pandemic, I wasn't doing FDM printing. I wasn't creating HueForges, and I certainly wasn't printing awesome stuff like this Leaper from Arc Raiders. Yes, I love this thing, and yes, it's available for purchase in the link below. But I wasn't doing any of that. In fact, I started my 3D printing journey with a Ender 3, and I couldn't even put it together. I remember sitting there in my living room trying to put this 3D printer together and just getting so incredibly frustrated because I couldn't put it together. I couldn't get a successful print, and I remember throwing that printer away and giving up completely. And then I found resin 3D printing, and all the hype was around resin. You could do way more detailed models. You could create way more intricate things, and it was way more reliable at a cheaper price than FDM was at the time. And so I went ahead and pulled the trigger on a Mars 2 from Elegoo, and I never looked back. I remember printing my first it was a chess piece from Elegoo, and I remember printing it out and painting it and thinking it was the coolest thing ever. And then once I found Archvillain Games and Mini Monster Mayhem and all the different modelers that existed out there, I just knew that I had to start selling these things. They looked so cool, the models were incredible, and the margins, at least from what I thought, were really good. But it was during that time, during the pandemic, that people really started to get into things like Dungeons and Dragons, and people were spending more money than they probably should on things like miniatures, and that's where my growth really started to happen. I was printing out of the storage room in a tiny little apartment at the time, and by the time I knew it, across the span of about 6 months, I had actually moved into a warehouse. I owned like 20 resin 3D printers, and it felt like I was working on it full time. Now remember, this is during the pandemic. I'm a full-time student. I had a full-time job, and that rapid expansion happened so quickly that I legitimately could not keep up with the demand. My Etsy quickly hit 1,500 sales. I had over 500 5-stars, and things were booming. I even created this awesome Tanjiro. Let me just show you. This thing is absolutely incredible. This is the type of stuff that I absolutely loved to paint and print when I used my resin printers, and they were the things that I sold on my Etsy store. But I quickly realized that as cool as resin printing was, I didn't love it. I loved resin printing, but it was stinky. It was smelly. It was extremely hands-on, and being at a warehouse, it meant that I had to be away from home way more than I wanted. So imagine 20 machines in a warehouse, just Victor doing his thing. I got really tired. The joy of printing, the joy of creating things like this guy right here, the joy of making this quickly faded, and I wasn't having fun. The joy had been sucked out of me, and burnout crept in fast. The second reason why I gave up resin 3D printing was simply because my actual setup was off-site. I didn't have my printers in my apartment, which is smart. Those toxic fumes are brutal. The amount of rashes that I got on and go to this off-site warehouse, it meant that I had to then go do school, and then I had to go back to the warehouse to check the prints, and it was just really exhausting. But the real reason that I actually had to turn down shop, and this is something that if you're creating a 3D printing business in any way, you have to do this well, is you have to manage your business well. And this is something that I just did not do. My wife will be the first one to tell you that I love giving people great deals. It's just the thing that I personally love. And it's an awesome quality to have as a business owner. But oftentimes it means that you would undersell or undercut or undervalue your products. And as a result, it meant that my margins were razor thin. In fact, I don't know if I made out of the $20,000 in revenue that I made in that 1 year of resin 3D printing, I would say that I probably walked away with maybe $500. Yeah, I made 1,500 sales. I netted about $22,000. And I don't think I walked away with over 1,000. And that's because I managed my business poorly. I just didn't manage it well. I didn't keep track of my margins well. I didn't track my material usage, which resin is so expensive, especially during the pandemic. It was absolutely insane. I didn't do it well. And it meant that I had to shut down my 3D printing business. It was painful. I didn't want to do it, but it was absolutely necessary. And so then I kind of gave up 3D printing for a while. I stopped. I still had 1 or 2 resin printers around, but I hardly ever used them, just doing projects for some friends and family, Christmas gifts. And when Bamboo Lab came out with the A1, or when I had heard about it, I realized that FDM printing during my time with resin was becoming more reliable. It was something that I became more interested in, and I just decided one day to pick up the A just to see how it was, and that was the best decision of my life. You see, today's FDM machines are nothing like they were 10 years ago. They are reliable, they are fast, they are quick. You can do multicolor, multi-material. The options are endless with FDM now. The innovation has been incredible, and that's why I entered back into the realm of FDM printing. But doing FDM business is actually kind of difficult. I have several videos on this on my channel. You can check them up in the corner here. I'll make sure to link them. But FDM printing is not what it's all cracked up to be. You have sites like STL Flicks that are basically just drop shipping files for everyone with a 3D printer to sell the same type of thing at every market ever. And there's nothing unique about FDM printing anymore. It is very rare to find unique stuff in the FDM printing world, which is why when I came across HueForge, my life totally changed. I found this really unique idea where you can turn 2D photos into 3D models and print them out on your 3D printers at home. Now, that was an idea that I didn't see at markets. That was an idea that I hadn't seen at conventions. And that's when it finally clicked. That was what I was going to do. And y'all, I can't even describe how incredible it's been since I started. Been working with HueForge for about 2 years now, and it started with me just finding different models to print and to make and then to sell, to me learning the program, to me creating those files for other people to sell, to me actually coaching people like you to learn how to use HueForge for yourself. Also, if you want more information about all of my HueForge projects, make sure to check out the description below. I do one-on-one coaching. I have my files available with merchant licenses and all that good stuff down there. So just check it out. I'd appreciate it. Walking away from resin 3D printing was the thing that would lead me to eventually find HueForge. And I am printing on 8 printers right now in the comfort of my own home. I get to use my own files that I learned to make, and I got to do it, and it's all stuff that I really enjoy. It's anime, it's Star Wars, it's Legos, it's Arc Raiders and video games. If you ever want to start a HueForge business, make sure you're passionate about it. If you're getting into it to make a quick buck, I promise you it's going to be a painful journey. But if you get into it because you love to do it, and you get into it because there's a demand in your area, and the door's wide open, your possibilities are endless. So with all that being said, what's your experience with FDM 3D printing? What's your experience with resin 3D printing? I'd love to hear it down in the comments below. Maybe you have dove into resin 3D printing and it has been the best experience of your life. That is awesome. Resin just wasn't for me, but FDM is where it's at. I'd love to hear from you. Let me know your experience. And hey, if you enjoy videos like this, videos where I'm just kind of talking about my experience, my time with 3D printing, and just sharing some stories about my life, let me know down in the comments. I'd love to continue making incredible videos just like this one. Y'all, thank you so much for tuning in to today's video. I hope you have a fantastic rest of your day, and I will catch you guys in the next one. Until then, y'all, take care.